So Eskom threatens to cut power to the city of Johannesburg, while the Minister of Higher Education chooses not to go to Parliament, but to rather meet with the ANC, and largely Gayton McKenzie commits undying love for Cyril Ramaphosa. Welcome to the Political Insider. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Trade Nation. If you want to trade any indice, any currency, any commodity in the world, Trade Nation is the place to do it. Visit their website, tradenation.co.za. You will be impressed with the range of things that you can trade on Trade Nation. So let's talk about the city of Johannesburg. Now, one of the biggest political moments of 2026 is going to be the local government elections in November of this year. The outcome of these elections will have a bigger impact on the country than the 2024 general elections, especially when it comes to the major metros that are up for grabs, which include all of the metros in Gauteng. Now, understand that local government is where the big budgets are. Local government is where service delivery is meant to happen. Local government is the big advertisement for our political parties. And in the past, it's been treated like the red-headed stepchild. Well, it's all going to happen at the end of this year. And the biggest prize in local government is South Africa's biggest city, which remains, oddly enough, the city of Johannesburg. Now, the city of Johannesburg is being hotly contested. We've seen the campaign that Helen Zille has been running, where she is swimming in potholes and paddling up streets that have got broken pipes and abseiling down potholes and all sorts of things. It's also being hotly contested by former mayor and now leader of Action SA, Herman Mashaba. And you never know, perhaps there'll even be a candidate from the ANC. They still think that it's 2006. They do not announce their candidate yet. We might have the diminutive Dada Moreira, my favorite politician. Remember, he's the only guy who kept his word. He said when he became mayor that we should not expect him to do anything, and he's been true to his word. He's done nothing. He might be the mayoral candidate. Loyiso Masuku actually beat him for the role as head of the ANC in Johannesburg, so it's all very embarrassing. But there's talk of an outside candidate. Well, hopefully they'll decide maybe a day or two before the election. But let's have a look at Johannesburg and what this current problem is. So Johannesburg is currently misgoverned by a coalition which includes the ANC, the EFF, the Patriotic Alliance, the IFP is in that coalition, and there's a bunch of small entrepreneurial parties. These are parties that only exist so that they can get positions in government and earn a nice fat salary. The city is not just having a tough time, it's in an advanced state of collapse. Right? This is now meant to be South Africa's premier city, host of World Cups and all World Cup finals and all of that. There's barely a road in Johannesburg that is not covered in potholes. Street lights are only there so taxis can crash into, and only about every third traffic light works. You do get to see metro policemen, but that's only in roadblocks, where everything is negotiable. Just to give you an indication of how bad the city of Johannesburg is, even President Cyril Ramaphosa, Captain Sleepy himself, noticed that the city was bad ahead of the G20 summit. And he never notices anything. So you've got to understand just how bad the city is. So we've really sort of, sketched the story for you. To add a little bit more fuel to this raging dumpster fire, Eskom has now issued a notice of its intention to reduce, interrupt, or terminate electricity supply to certain bulk points serving the city. And the reason is that the city of Johannesburg owes Eskom 5.2 billion rand, right? And it's been trying to get this money for 2 years. It also owes Eskom 1.6 billion rand in current debt. Why it's not including that in the debt? It's due in June. they've got two chances of receiving this money from the city of Johannesburg, a slim one and a fat one. There's no chance they're going to see that money. So in other words, the debt is going to be 6.8 billion rand. Now, for reasons best known to some bureaucrat somewhere, the way it works is that the city of Johannesburg has an entity called City Power, which has been habitually ransacked by the comrades. It's been stolen blind. It's an organization that gets the electricity from Eskom and gives the electricity to the city. The city does all the distribution. Eskom does all the power provision. What City Power does, other than steal money, is anyone's guess. But it is a place for a lot of deployed cadres. They've got big offices, big fancy offices. They all drive those luxury German sedans, but it doesn't really help. Now, ratepayers have been paying for their electricity, because oddly enough, the city has been quite good at disconnecting people that don't pay their electricity, unless you steal electricity, in which case the city seems to be incapable of disconnecting anyone that steals electricity. But if you are a proper client and you pay your electricity to Eskom, to the city has failed to pay this money on to Eskom. Now, this problem is actually causing a problem for the stability of Eskom. Eskom may, in fact, be tipped over the edge because, according to their books, which I suppose is technically true, they've got this wonderful amount of money due from the city of Johannesburg, but they've just got less than 0% chance of getting it. Now, we saw the Minister of Finance writing a letter warning the city of Johannesburg and begging them to be better people. Please, just pay over the money that's been paid to you. Now, understand that the city makes a massive margin on electricity. They put their own, and it funds the city. But where is the money going to? Well, we know where the money is going to. We saw it when our deputy mayor, who's also the Minister of Roads and Transport here, Kenny Kunene from the Patriotic Alliance, when he was suspended after he was found at Katiso Malefe's house when they arrested him, he fought tooth and nail. In actual fact, it's the only time that the Patriotic Alliance has ever threatened to leave the government of national unity was unless Kenny Kunene got his job back as head of roads in Johannesburg. Well, it's clearly not because he's got a passion for roads, because the roads have never been worse. So there's got to be other reasons, right? You've got to start saying that Eskom's only chance of ever seeing money from the city of Johannesburg will be if there is a change of governance in the city after the local government election. But all we know for sure is that if the lights go out, that will be a game changer in terms of the electoral outcome in the city of Johannesburg. That's why the city of Johannesburg might as well run that debt up as high as they like. There is zero chance that Eskom is going to cut the city's power. They can threaten all they like. The power's not going to get cut because it will be political suicide for the ANC and all of those deployed cadres inside Eskom, inside the city of Johannesburg, inside the City Power. It's not going to happen. So it's a wonderful headline to say that Eskom's threatening to cut the power, but that's all it's going to be, is a threat. It's never going to happen. Let's talk about the ANC trying to rule from the grave. Shame, the poor ANC still thinks that they're in charge. They're still denying what happened in 2024, where they lost their majority. Now, just recently, we spoke about the ANC practice of study groups. Study group sounds innocuous enough. It sounds like something really good. What bad can come of a study group? A whole lot of people get around, they say, let's really discuss this issue. But it was far more insidious than that. Right? What was an ANC study group? ANC study group was a situation where a bunch of bureaucrats in a specific ministry would get together with a bunch of leaders of the ANC, unelected by you and me, the voter, because we are voting for different people. These are people appointed by the party who work in Luthuli House. But yeah, you would have civil servants who are meant to be removed from politics being summoned to the ANC to sit in a study group where they would discuss a particular ministry and decide the future of how the ministry should behave, where the money should go to, who should win tenders. Sometimes they'd call in cabinet ministers, bureaucrats like the directors general, etc. And then you would have people making decisions, especially people like unelected ANC secretary generals, like Fikile Mbalula, who becomes like the de facto prime minister. Never been elected by anybody. You won't find him on a ballot, but he is the secretary general of the ANC. And when he decides that the ministry will do this, then the ministry will do that, despite the fact that he's never been elected to any office and he's been really bad at running everything he's ever tried to run. Now, the problem has re-emerged where the Ministry of Higher Education, which is now run by a member of the South African Communist Party, Buti Manamela, has chosen to rather attend a study group meeting than to go and answer to a parliamentary portfolio committee. Now, this is a big deal, right? Because Minister Manamela is running a wreck of a ministry. To be fair to him, he inherited a wreck of a ministry. Why should the Ministry of Higher Education be such a disaster? Well, it's simple. It's got massive budgets, right? And it's quite easy for the comrades to feast on this budget. It's got two areas which are just begging to be looted. One has been the SETAs, the Sexual Education Training Authorities. These are just organizations that get money from government, they get money from business, it goes into a pot, and some fairy godmother decides where this money should go to. I mean, what could possibly go wrong with that model? The other thing is NSFAS. This is the National Student Financial Authority, right? Basically funding poor students. Once again, some person with a pen and a clipboard decides who should get money and how the money should get spent. Now, let's understand something about NSFAS. Their head office is in the waterfront in Cape Town, right? That nice, cheap, down-budget office that you get on the waterfront. I'm sure it doesn't cost a lot. Why it should be run out of the waterfront in Cape Town? Well, why not? I mean, you know. And needless to say, NSFAS has been looted terribly. So much so that Minister Manamela decided to dissolve the board. Now that sounds like a clever decision. The money is, they can't account for the money, you dissolve the board. Except that he put a Professor Hlangani Matabula to run this vital state entity, NSFAS, that sees billions of rands of your and my tax money. The problem with Professor Matabula is that he was a state capture, he was fingered in the state capture report. So now Minister Manamela was set to face a portfolio committee on higher education, but he decided at the last minute that the ANC was more important. Now, the situation is so bad that it has united the EFF, Mkhonto we Sizwe, and the Democratic Alliance. You know how bad a situation has to be to align those particular parties. They are united in their anger that the minister collapsed a portfolio meeting to evade accountability over all of these crazy decisions he's been making. Now, it's really good. This is actually a good news story. I'll tell you why. Because Parliament is starting to work the way it was intended to work. Ministers should be held accountable by the portfolio committees that are made up from the other parties. Now, in the past, the ANC could pretty much do what they wanted. They had the majority everywhere, so even the portfolio committees was dominated by the ANC. And if anything went to a vote, if they decided that somebody had stolen money and they wanted to keep him there, they could do it. We saw it in the golden days of Jacob Zuma, where he could do pretty much what he liked and the ANC could protect him. But it's become impossible now. And they are getting serious opposition, not just from all the opposition parties that aren't in the government of national unity, but the parties that are in the government of national unity as well. They are competing with each other for market share. They can see that voting patterns in South Africa are changing, and the one thing that is starting to matter is the parties that are actually doing some hard work in Parliament. The only party that is hating this new world is the ANC, because suddenly they are accountable and they're incapable of changing the way that they operate. It didn't matter before which comrade was deployed as a cabinet minister, because Luthuli House was doing all of the decision-making anyway. So you might as well have Fikile Mbalula as a minister. Why the hell not? He's not making any decisions anyway, and his only job was to go to cut ribbons and to drive around in a blue light brigade. Now ministers have to answer to portfolio committees, not to ANC study groups. We are living in a new world in South Africa, and it can only improve the way the country is governed. A program like this, highlighting these problems, is a good thing. Believe me, I don't get depressed by doing this. I am excited by the fact that we're getting this information. The parties are competing to show where government is falling short, and this can only be a good thing. And how much longer can this Minister of Higher Education last? Oh, my word. There's only one party that Cyril Ramaphosa can really bank on for support as he faces his legal woes over Phala Phala, and that is the Patriotic Alliance. The PA leader and Minister of Sports, Art and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, has rejected any calls for Cyril Ramaphosa's impeachment, and he has cited nation-building efforts and constitutional respect. Not the fact that he needs to be surgically removed from Cyril Ramaphosa's rectum. That's a whole different discussion. In the mind of Minister McKenzie, South Africa would crumble without the inspirational leadership of Cyril Ramaphosa. He keeps on telling us that. Despite the fact that we have a stagnant economy, unemployment at 32%, local government in crisis, McKenzie is seeing something that we are just not seeing. He covets the deputy president job, and that's why he is supporting the ANC the way he is, especially Cyril Ramaphosa. The line that he says about respect for the Constitution is that old hoary chestnut we are so sick of in this country, of being innocent until proven guilty. Doesn't matter if we see a video of you shooting somebody in the street, you've got to, court of law has to prove you guilty. And as we've just seen now with a wonderful performance when taxi bosses were put in the stage, we can't expect anybody to be convicted of anything. So McKenzie has asked political parties to stop calling him to ask him for his support of the impeachment process. He said that the Constitutional Court judgment spoke only about the process that parliamentarians followed, not being the correct process. It never mentioned Cyril Ramaphosa. The whole thing's about Cyril Ramaphosa. But anyway, now not since the atom was split have we seen such fine splitting of anything this hairy. Right? This is Gayton McKenzie's excuse, and he's going to stick by it. The local government elections in mind, one can only but wonder what keeps some of these parties together that are running very important local entities. We started today by talking about Johannesburg. Now, let's think about this. Johannesburg is run by a coalition of the ANC headed by Cyril Ramaphosa. It also includes the EFF, who wants to put Cyril Ramaphosa in jail, and the Patriotic Alliance, who wants to put the EFF leader, Julius Malema, in jail. Now, yet, all three of those parties are very happy to run Johannesburg together. What do you suppose unites them? We know it's not service delivery because the city's a mess. So what exactly do you suppose they find so wonderful about running these cities with these massive budgets if they can't see anything the same, If you know, put it down in the comments section below. Let's know if you have comments about any of these stories. But do you know why the ANC and the EFF and the Patriotic Alliance, who can't seem to agree on anything, agree that they should be running the city of Johannesburg together? Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for joining us on The Political Insider. Put your comments below. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you again soon.